Oh, that's unfortunate. Anyway, we're live, by the way.
Oh,
So,
Oh
hello
no.
everybody.
I mean,
Welcome to the Groove of War podcast, season 2, episode 3. I am aware that we're in October and this is the third podcast of the year, but I guess before we jump into like introduction and stuff, I just want to give a bit of an explanation as to what's been going on. I personally have been very busy with a lot of real life stuff and event stuff. If anybody's been taking part in Groove of War stuff this year, they probably noticed we've been a bit behind in certain aspects. Stuff starting late, last minute map decisions for events and stuff like that. And that's just basically been, this year has been extremely busy for not just myself, but also other people on staff. And because of that, we've had to let a few things slide. The podcast not really being the biggest priority was unfortunately one of those things. So yeah, a bit unfortunate, but all of the real life, or I say all, most of the real life stuff I was dealing with that was keeping me very busy has been dealt with. And event stuff wise, we're actually kind of entering a more calm period, which is quite nice. So, like, we're just about to go into Groove of War 7. We don't have a Test Your Metal event coming up for a while. Ranked is fixed until the end of the year. Like, we're going to do map updates to it, but like that season's just going to happen. So, yeah, we should be good for like the rest of the year. And the podcast will be more regular. Probably hopefully once a month if like the schedules line up. But anyway, I am Barrett RTS. I am your host as usual, and I want to welcome my guests. We have Saikoya here,
hello, that's me.
and we have SneakyDragon joining us as well.
hello. Welcome to Wargroove and such.
And such, damn. It's a sassy dragon today.
Yes, I'll change my name.
So yeah, I guess the first topic is Groove of Nations, and you both, I imagine, have stuff to say about this. So
Woo! All right. So we both won Groove of Nations because we were on the same team, right?
I feel tales of any success I contributed to are highly exaggerated. That was mostly Saikoya and the actual members of Team France. I was a mascot character.
Exactly. Then that's what's important.
So, I mean, I guess for people tuning in, like we did the Group of Nations event. We had 4 teams overall. Puck, which was Poland, United Kingdom, and Canada. We had USA and Friends, which I believe was USA and a bunch of teams from Latin America. We had France, who are consistently the only team to be from one country. Every other group needs to kind of step up their game, I guess. And then we had Australia, Asia, Hungary, and there was one other. Was it? I can't remember. There's 5 A's. One of them is Alliance. Australia, Asia.
Africa?
It might have been
Oh,
Africa.
yeah. I think it might have been Africa.
Okay, so we had Aha, who did very well. And yeah, it was a really fun event overall. We did a round robin. There was a almost perfect 3-way tie, which actually I do want to talk about that. Had it actually been a perfect 3-way tie, the event started late and then ended much later than planned as well. And I was actually at the point where I was just gonna say, screw it, we're just gonna make it a 3-way tie and call it an event. But
well, that wouldn't have been fun now, would it?
but imagine trying to do a 3-way tiebreaker in a team event for
Yeah,
Wargroove.
I know. It almost happened, but it didn't, and that's what's important.
It is. So then we had the finals. I was the team captain for Puck, and Saikoya, you were the team captain for France.
Yep.
And France took it in the end.
Of course.
Team Friends always has very, very good teamwork, coordination, and training, and I think that contributes to them doing well. Even when they have completely new players, the more experienced players will play games with them, have fun with them, talk about strategies, and I think it's the teamwork that gives France their special edge.
I
Yeah.
mean, mostly fun, I'd say.
Yeah, that's the thing. You guys don't go try hard either. You're just like you have fun with it. That's what I really love.
It works perfectly. Uh,
And I feel like from the puck side of things, like our channel that we had wasn't super active. There wasn't a huge amount of talk about how do you practice this map, how do you open on this. It was mostly just every week I'd be like, right, who's up for playing this week, and then a lot of people would be like, oh, I'll step in, and I had to poke people a bit. There was a little bit of chat outside of that, but I feel like we didn't really have like that kind of team spirit that like France did. And towards the end, it was very, I guess, like obvious how big an advantage that is.
I mean, we do have 100% win rate in the 2v2s across both group of nations.
Yeah, like you all practice together and theorycraft together, and like I think that just like matters a lot. So, and it's
I mean, to
sorry.
be fair, we're not like hyperactive either. We just kind of, we're there when we can, and we just have fun mostly. Like we do a lot of memeing around. I think on Ominous, like I had a few practice games with the Vixel, like a bit before a bit before the set on that map. I mean the round. And since we were mostly practicing the opening, we built like something like 5 ballistas across these 2 games.
That sounds pretty good. So, I mean, I guess basically, like, how did it feel winning this year? Because I wasn't around last year for it, so I never really remember. I know France didn't win last year, but this year, like, how did it feel like once you realized that you'd like won the set?
I mean, it's pretty good. Well, to be fair, we were kind of like memeing around like, oh, we gotta throw a set so we can actually have a reason to play the 2v2 and stuff like that. But it didn't happen in the end. Uh, I think winning is really like, it was really pleasant, especially because we have that team spirit, I guess.
That's cool. I mean, I guess like the other question I would have, is like actually taking part in this event this year. How did that feel compared to last year? Like organizing
Mm,
standpoint and like actually getting into games and stuff. You can be a harsh critic, by the way. I know it wasn't perfect this year.
oh, I mean, if you're comparing it to last time. Oh, last time was a bit of a disaster. But this time it was much better. I still think like there's a little bit of like, you know, a bit too much leeway, I'd say, because like stuff gets organized, and then as the event progresses, we kind of have the weeks like eat a bit onto the next one until like we have to skip a week and stuff. So, I mean, I think part of that is that we don't really have a deadline for captains going, all right, here's the lineup, or like drafting to each other. So usually what would happen is that at some point the captains would first remember like, oh, I do have to assign maps and commanders to everyone this week, and then they would go ask, and then it takes a few, like maybe 1 or 2 days to get responses. Then they contact the other captain, and then if the other captain didn't start that, then it takes 1 or 2 days for them as well, and then that's like half of the week just, sort of remembering that you have to play. So I think overall it was still like really fun. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. Like, there was a lot of uh me being like, oh, it's Monday, but I'm really tired. I'll wait until tomorrow. That isn't the biggest deal. And then start poking players, and I didn't have a full lineup some weeks early on in the week, so I had to keep poking people. And I wasn't available to play for a few of the weeks myself, so it was like I couldn't even just step in and fill. Um, and I wonder how much like the other teams kind of felt that too. So I think you're right. Like having a deadline for the roster needs to be ready by then. People maybe like people, since they know what the maps are going to be at the start of the event, like people can kind of just like plan their line out for like the whole event, and then like be more organized that way. But yeah, I think you're right. Having
we'll see next time, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, and there definitely will be another one, because if
I
nothing
think
else, oh sorry.
I think the most fun moments of Group of Nations were like during the like Twitch replays and such, where you had members from different teams coming in the chat, and kind of there was a bit of smack talk going on. It was
Yeah,
funny,
and it was
all
it
in good
was
spirit.
yeah, it was all in good spirits, and I think let me just adjust my volume slightly. I think it was all in good spirits, and but people really started getting into like the spirit of the event, and that to me is the main thing, because like the big thing we wanted to do with creating Groove of Nations was kind of create these like smaller communities within the bigger community. So there are times when people might not feel like they're really a part of like the greater community. Like it can be kind of intimidating to come in and, oh, there's like 30 active players on the ladder or something, and all these tournament players, and they're all high level. But I wanted to create something where it was like, hey, like I'm a newer player, but I'm from this country, and I see that that country happens to have spots open in their lineup. Um, and then they join. Like in the case of France, you have newer players come in, and they join and have a good time. And like the more experienced players have a reason to kind of help them get better, but not in a way that's like beating them up repeatedly and then like telling them that they need to get better at the game.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why we picked up Sneaky. Kind of a new player. I know he's intimidated by the community.
Yeah, I learned so much from the 2 matches I lost to you guys. I don't think I won a single practice match.
But I'm glad that it went well. And yeah, we'll do it again next year. It'll be a bit more organized, but it sounds like what needs fixed is quite simple. Just like a few more deadlines every week. And
Yeah,
then
I think maybe like 1 or 2 weeks earlier this time, because I mean that might be because we kept delaying a little bit, but definitely felt like the number of players that could play was kind of decreasing as the event went on.
yeah, there was also, I think there was a big surge of interest at the start, and then we delayed the event starting, and then a lot of people kind of just lost interest. Um, there has to be like there's kind of a sweet spot between like when you announce something and when you actually run it. Um, Like that gap has to be a certain length. If it's too long, then people just kind of forget or move on. And if it's too short, then you don't get enough interest. So like you need to give people enough
Wargroove.
cough. Okay, so yeah, I mean overall I liked the event. I still need to upload the finals, I think. I could be wrong about that. Oh yeah, also my computer died in the middle of the event as well, which did not help. So
Oh,
Yeah, I can imagine.
thank you
and
for reminding me. I need a new mouse. I cannot use this mouse for Groove of War, or I am in big trouble because this mouse
Oh.
has started doing random clicks.
oh right, yeah, you should probably get on that.
Yeah, it doesn't feel. I know it doesn't feel really good to misclick in the middle of a match.
Yeah, definitely seen some of those from more than I mean I know you had that, but there's been a few people that have had that issue.
I still remember that one game against Loveless where I walked a sword up to a village and then didn't capture it, and I was just, oh no. Oh no, what did I do?
Yeah, it's always painful. Okay, so I guess that's us for Groove of Nations. Yeah, it was a fun event. I think people seem to enjoy it. There's definitely room for improvement, but yeah, we know what to do for the next one. There will be another one. It'll be earlier in the year. Like it'll be at the time it was planned to be next year. And I think all the stuff that was really causing delays this time around, like we'll be able to like be better about that this time around. Or like next time around, I should say. So yeah, it should be good. And like Team Puck will probably return and will win. Or actually, that's the interesting thing. I wonder what the teams are gonna look like next year.
Yeah, I guess maybe there'll be some sort of like, oh, let's get Team Puck back together or something. Might happen. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we're gonna have Team France. If we drop like one or two players, we might have to actually make an alliance, or get Sneaky to play a game. I don't know. One of the two.
Okay. It'll be interesting to see. Oh, actually, I do have one question. Do you, as Team France, are you all still active since the event ended? Like, you all still helping each other out and asking questions and stuff?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think there was some discussion about the mod. Like we helped install it a little bit. I think mostly like the Vixel and myself are the two most active, and we kind of discuss some ranked stuff. Like for example, he's one. Sometimes I'd be playing my ranked game, fishing stuff like that, and then he'd start putting comments because he's live spectating. He's like, "Oh, that was awkward." We don't cheat, of course, of course.
Of course.
Speaking of which, you were playing a ranked game during the early part of this podcast. I saw you in the chat.
Yeah, that he failed the lethal, so I won.
Nice. Actually, you're the only French representative for this Groove of War, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so I guess are we gonna see like Team France practicing in secret, like help Saikoya win Groove of War?
Maybe because they're pretty good at finding some openings I didn't think about.
Okay, so we're gonna have French strats. This is gonna be interesting. I'm looking forward to it.
You're gonna see 3 wagons on the field. You're gonna be, what is this?
Okay, I think we're good for Groove of Nations. Let's go on to the next topic. I mean, does anyone have anything left to say before we move on?
I mean, no, it was a good event and we won, both of us. So, you know,
Yeah, I mean
pretty cool.
that's a good note to end on. Okay, let's go to the next one. Advance Wars Reboot Delayed. So this does actually impact the Wargroove and the competitive Wargroove community a bit because um, whenever like something happens to like one game in like a genre, like it tends to actually positively influence other games. So if people came in and played Advance Wars and they were like, "Oh, I love the multiplayer of this," but and then they were like, "Oh, it's not quite what I was thinking," or I'm not, or people can like play something and then get frustrated with it and like move on to something else that's like kind of similar. There's like
Like,
a whole bunch of reasons. So like Advance Wars doing well does actually benefit Wargroove. And I guess like the reboot was something we were like kind of looking forward to. Like a lot of people in the Wargroove community were interested in it. So it's been delayed to spring next year, and they were being very not specific about um like when in spring. I don't know if either of you are like looking forward to playing Advance Wars.
I have never touched anything Advance Wars actually.
I like Advance Wars, but like Advance Wars does not have assassin playstyle. It just doesn't. That's the big thing that makes Wargroove different, like the commander. And so like I I might I might go into Advance Wars more when this happens, but I don't know how well it's gonna suit how I play a game. Like I've been doing Wargroove more mechanicsy lately, but like I really like the crazy assassin stuff that just it doesn't exist. Like there's no commander to kill or worry about. It's just kind of like a slow wall breaky like kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe I'll just main Sammy.
It's true that quite a bit of Wargroove players, they're like, oh, this. I mean, I've heard the phrase like grind fest or like it's a grind, like in a negative way in quite a few circumstances. And I think Advance Wars mostly plays like that at some point. So yeah, there's definitely some subtleties that favor one over the other, depending on what you like, I guess.
Okay. I mean, personally, I was looking forward to it because I played Advance Wars when I was really young. I had the first one when it came out. I have fond memories of there were a couple of times when I was young when I was sick for a few weeks. Like I had like chest problems for a few weeks, which have pretty much cleared up as an adult. But I have memories of like sitting in a hospital, like playing Advance Wars on my Game Boy, and yeah, like just like it was a part of like my childhood. I played all the Advance Wars games. I really liked Dual Strike. Days of Ruin I wasn't as keen on, but I think that's a lot of Advance Wars fans. Uh, but then again, as I'm like get a bit older and I've played Wargroove now and like really gotten into like the games, I can kind of appreciate that. So, or like what they were trying to do with Days of Ruin. And now it was like, oh, we're gonna go back. We're gonna try Advance Wars 1 and 2 again. It should be fun. And they'll have online play, and I was looking forward to it because like I did play a little bit of Advance Wars by web, and like I enjoyed it, but it was very different. Like I mean, like you were both saying, it's kind of grindy and a bit slow, and assassin style stuff doesn't really exist outside of like Sammy. But yeah, I mean, I was looking forward to it, and I was looking forward to like the potential of cross community stuff that we could be doing. So yeah, like it's a shame it got delayed, but I also there are rumors going around that they wanted to like improve the multiplayer online stuff. So if that's the case, then I'm okay with them taking extra time. So yeah.
mm, Thinking maybe we should like have a just have a post like on because I'm thinking a little bit if you're like from Advance Wars and you just want to try out Wargroove PvP and stuff, think one of the few things Wargroove isn't super good at is welcoming you when you go to PvP. Because if you're not in the Discord server, you kind of you hit quick play, and I assume for a lot of people that's where it ends.
This is why most of my videos will say, "Join the Discord, join the Discord, join the Discord."
Yeah, when they added open lobbies, a lot of people put in the lobby names like join the Discord and stuff like that. There's like a couple of players that exclusively like play open lobbies and stuff. They're actually really good that just aren't on the Discord. And there's been attempts to try and get them to join. Like people will put their name in the lobby and like join the Discord along with it or something.
Oh, I remember. There's the one and only Luo Swan, I think, where he's like a notorious quick play and open lobby player. I think he's in China, so he can't join Discord.
Yeah, that's one of the people. There's one called
Yeah.
Brown Jesus as well. I don't know if they're still
Oh,
around.
yeah, that was a moment where I think someone was map testing and they were getting destroyed by Brown Jesus. They were like, "This guy is good. We gotta get him," and we never did.
Yeah, I think there was a Best Sakia stream where he put like fight a streamer or something in the lobby name and just like sought to see who was around. He fought Brown Jesus and then lost both times to him. So yeah, that was pretty funny. But yeah, there is something to be said about Wargroove. Um, I from what I understand, like that wasn't really intended to be competitive at all. Um, Obviously they tried to have like decent balance and stuff when it came out, but I don't think they ever foresaw a competitive scene forming around the game, which kind of makes what quick play is more understandable because it isn't very good as far as like the maps aren't great. The systems they have doing handling maps as well means it's really difficult to like update the map pool. Uh,
I loved Quick Play starting out, but that was when there were like people on Quick Play and you could fight other new players, and no one was really good enough to figure out how to break it.
yeah, like I have really good like fun memories of like early quick play, but I think if I like went back and tried to play it again, it would be a very different experience.
Yeah, I think once you've like entered the more competitive scene, a quick play and the quick play maps are kind of, you know, they have trebs open, and that's
Yeah.
the first thing I'll say, I guess. I did I did like do some weird challenge meme runs in quick play at some point. Like I was going in a game and I only allowed to hit knights with dogs. That was a fun one. uh, but yeah, generally,
Wait,
yeah.
did you cause this? Did
It's
you
quick
cause
play. I
the
can't
meme?
save it. But yeah, I did manage if like I think I won twice. I lost quite a bit of times though, because I think one of the time they actually realized and they just started spamming knights.
Oh, I remember Shu talking about how like trebs aren't even that good in quick play because like if you just go spear balloon, people don't know how to deal with it. Um, but
Hmm. Well, I mean, for the majority of the people you will find in quick play, I think you spear balloon is just enough, probably.
We are way off topic.
we are. I mean, to get it back on topic, I hope Advanced Wars has like good matchmaking because should Wargroove ever get an update or should there be I don't know, maybe like a Wargroove 2 or something. Who knows? It would be cool to see a game in the same genre with good matchmaking tools and like better online stuff. And then like that be an example of like just how high the bar can go, for example. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to Advance Wars still. It should be fun when it comes out. But actually, to be fair, there's like 3 different games coming out in the next 2 months that I'm very interested in, alongside playing lots of Wargroove and commentating lots of Wargroove. So I can kind of live with this being pushed back, so I can play Halo and then Age of Empires and Spellforce when it comes out in December. Uh, so yeah, I mean, and to go off of that into the next topic, there's an event in January through March next year. We're slowly getting that set up in the background. I'll probably be working on that more once Groove of War 7 is actually, underway. And Advance was actually going to be part of that. And unfortunately, because of the delays, it means it won't be.
Oh, can be. If you do. I've never done a WBW, but I imagine it's possible.
So from a technical standpoint, it's possible. I've run events with Project Emin before and other similar things like that. It's like a legal can of worms I don't want to get into. Because like the event that's going to be January through March is something I want to then take on into the future and do again, and then like talk to companies about financial support and stuff like that. If you have a history of running stuff that is like not official, that can like cause problems, and it's one of those cases of like I was really hoping we could run like an official Advance Wars game. That would have been so good. But Advance Wars by web being in this kind of weird legal space is like I don't want to have to deal with that stuff again. Having been through that in the past, so yeah. And there's also other stuff like, let's say the new Advance Wars game comes out and doesn't have good online, at least compared to Advance Wars by web. If you run Advance Wars by web and then you go on and you're like, well, we should really run it on the official game client, then all of a sudden you're creating like hostility from people who are like, well, no, you should run it on like, it's like the Pokemon Showdown thing, right? Where if you actually try and run like the official games, then people will complain because it takes a lot of grinding to get your Pokemon team set up. Because everybody's used to playing on Showdown, because Showdown's like so easy to set up and stuff. So yeah, it's just a thing, and I hope people understand that point of view of like, this is like a thing that I want to grow into something much bigger, and if I involve a web-based version of a video game, then or like a non-official version of a video game, then that can cause problems. So just to quickly go over what that event's going to be like, it's going to be a bunch of different games. So we're still going to have chess, we're still going to have Go. Thinking about adding a 4th game to replace Advance Wars, but kind of not sure about that yet. And then yeah, there'll be prizes for people who play like individual games, and people if they want to enter multiple games, then they can have there's like a big overall prize for people that enter like multiple games and like do well in all of them. So yeah, it should be fun. But yeah, I mean that's kind of it. The announcements for that will take place in the future, and we'll probably go over it more in a future podcast. But that's just kind of a bit of a
I see.
preview.
Yeah, I think I might enter Go. I mean, I'd probably have to train a bit for it, and I probably won't go very far. But I found it fun when I did play it a little bit.
Yeah, and I kind of hope that in the case of like a bunch of games, like people will get rewarded for like entering stuff. So if 90% of the people entering Go aren't very good, then it'll probably use a format like Swiss, where even if you get destroyed in the first week, you'll still have a whole bunch more rounds against people around your like skill level. So it should be fun. I'm hoping it does well. But yeah, I mean that's kind of it for that topic. And we can move on to everybody's favorite topic in the whole world. So
We're all
you just
very
took
passionate about
two
this.
of the most like talkative, controversial topics and just kind of shoved them together with that ampersand there.
yeah, I was gonna do them separately, and then I was like, well, technically they're kind of conjoined in what we're gonna be doing with it. So for Test Your Metal, I guess December, possibly there's a fog event next month, which I'll talk about later in the podcast. But we're gonna run a no RNG event, which we've done in the past. Actually, we have run no RNG in Test Your Metal before, and people seem to enjoy it. So we're gonna give it another try. It's not gonna be a mainline event. We're not gonna try it out like I'm not just gonna be like Groove of War 7 is now no RNG, and also we're balancing the band commanders. Like, no, we're just gonna try it out in a Test Your Metal event, see how it goes. It's gonna be kind of similar to what we've done with like Project Groove in the past. But in this case, it's gonna be no RNG for like optional events for Test Your Metal, and we're also gonna do some slight tweaks to the top tiers as far as commandos go, and then we'll actually we'll give it a shot.
So there's gonna be. I think you should join this, Sneaky, because there's gonna be stuff like nerfed Koji with no RNG.
That is not. I maintain that the discussions about what would happen to Koji with no RNG would make Koji the most broken commander on the face of the planet. But like,
he's also getting nerfed.
it's not gonna nerf like I don't know where to.
No RNG is a big nerf to me.
Well, like my biggest worry is that no RNG is going to do one of two things to Assassin style. It's either going to make it broken as all goodness. I had to censor myself because I remember Barrett's streams tend to be user friendly. Or alternatively, it is going to make Assassin style non-existent because there are things that you can't do now if you're playing like a tournament. Like, you don't go for coin flips in a tournament. I think Red Jam's learned that the hard way. If you go for coin flips in a tournament game, even if you win 2 sets doing that, the third set you're going to lose. If you go for like a 65% lethal a lot of the time, even if you win. Yeah, well, yeah, there's a chance of that too. It's like, you don't want to put yourself in a situation where the odds are, given the number of events, you will fail one if that one eliminates you. So, like in tournament play, you can't go for RNG situations beyond a certain level, except in the finals. Oddly enough, the math works out that you can start doing that in the finals if it's greater than 50%. If you think you're losing, and there's a whole bunch of strategy involved, but ultimately, without RNG, if you get rid of the RNG, 50% lethals, because the average being the number that makes it minus equal to 0, now become guaranteed success. So that opens the door to so many plays that you could not do, ironically, with RNG. So that's going to be a huge buff to assassinations, but because of that, and because this is a mod, the reaction is going to be nerfing everything that lets you kill a commander, to the point where it's not possible unless you hit them first, which is going to turn into this weird meta of trying to pressure commanders by smacking them with a non-crit knight and backing them with a pike, so you lose the knight and heal the command, and it's gonna then witches are just not gonna exist, and like I'm worried it's gonna unbalance things. That's my concern. That assassination will be too good, and then there will be a huge nerf overreaction, and then you can't kill anyone anymore, and the entire mechanic just gets removed.
I think RNG in its current form is actually like it actually is sort of healthy because we're running chess timers. Because basically what happens if you have no RNG is either you have to calculate very precisely the lethals every time you go for it, and it's a bit close because you know if it will succeed or fail, so you can just calculate everything beforehand. So it kind of gives an advantage to people that have prepared a bot of some sorts or a lethal calculator or whatever. But in the middle of a match, you kind of eyeball the damage, I guess, or you do rough math because you can't like calculate terrain defense percent reductions and stuff like that precisely. Because I mean, it's like less relevant than what the RNG will give you, I guess. So that's kind of probably one of the aspects I think I haven't heard being spoken of about RNG is it makes big maths not relevant because the RNG will do whatever.
Yeah, that's another major component. RNG effectively breaks over science to some degree. Something that Goose Engineer is saying in chat, and this is an important topic. The idea that no RNG makes it so the better player will always win, whereas RNG sometimes makes it so the worst player can win. That's actually an important mechanic in Wargroove. It's a comeback mechanic because Wargroove is a snowballing game. The second you get even the tiniest advantage, and this is something Shu talks about a lot, you can theoretically use that advantage to, in theory, guarantee a win if you could play perfectly. Now, in reality, we're not perfect computers. We can't play perfectly. We don't know always the best thing to do. Not every advantage can be converted. But because this usually does snowball, the player who's behind either suffers a 45-minute long grind towards their defeat, trying to hope their opponent slips up, and then that's the game, and that's really boring. Or alternatively, they need a way with good strategy to come back. One of the ways that happens in Wargroove is RNG plus commander pressure. As the winning player, you can never put your commander in a situation where the probability of a lethal is greater than the probability of your opponent coming back without the lethal. Because if you do, your opponent is now motivated to go for the lethal, and you've given them a higher chance of winning. So, because of this, the winning player can't actually use their commander as aggressively. And that gives the player who's behind a comeback mechanic. Comeback mechanics are usually built into games that can snowball, or it's a big component of games that are just built for fun, because otherwise the winning player just wins, and that's the end of it. And then you're only motivated to get the first advantage. There's no late game. Late game doesn't matter. Just get that first advantage, science it out, do all the science, throw an AI at it, play like a million games, rounds, like turns 1 through 5, do the best possible thing, and you win. And that's not fun, and it doesn't make for a good game. So that's one of the things I like about RNG, is if you really go into the strategy, it creates a comeback mechanic pressure.
Yeah, I mean, alright, so there's a couple things I want to say. I do think that like it can be a comeback mechanic, but it's also a fickle comeback mechanic because you can be behind in a game and you can do something that isn't consistent and it'll put you further behind. Like you try and take a village that's a coin flip or something and it fails and your unit gets damaged. And then like you go from being behind to being more behind.
I think that was mostly like Sneaky was mostly talking about commander lethals. with
Yeah, but I
the
mean,
comeback mechanic.
I get that, but in some ways it doesn't really serve as a comeback mechanic because it can punish the player who is behind as well. So like it's partly a comeback mechanic because I get what Sneaky's saying as far as commando lethals, but it also means that like you still end up with like a situation with people who are already losing, taking like some kind of risk at failing, and then like they just get further behind.
Now that's a good point. It's different than the point I was making because I was definitely just talking about the commander lethal comeback mechanic, but the village flip is actually a thing. And I've been in that situation before where I'm like, I'm behind, my harpy has 50% chance to take out this village, but if it messes up, I'm losing like 200 to 300 gold worth of harpy here, and all my harpy pressure. Is this like, is this something that I should do? And I've gone for it and it works. I've gone for it and it doesn't work. I think ultimately that kind of coin flip is just always a bad decision. I don't blame the RNG in that case so much as I'd say it would still be a bad decision to go for that because the probability of you succeeding is 50%. The benefit of the flip, if that doesn't like increase your victory by the average amount, then you shouldn't do it, right? But I do agree that it's very difficult for a player who is behind, who's not familiar with math and probability to that extent, to make that decision. Even if they are, it's difficult to calculate. I think in like very, very, very high level play, it's just a matter of player decision. You shouldn't do that. Or if you're doing it, you really need to know what you're doing and why. But again, I'd say like that's coin flips are an issue. I definitely think that coin flips like that, where it's 50% chance it goes really well, or 50% chance it smacks you in the face, are bad. I don't like that aspect of RNG, but I think that's also a rare event. And the correct answer is you just shouldn't do it almost all of the time.
Yeah, I mean, to give an example, I was playing a game on ranked. This was a while ago where it was headland to deadland. My opponent went for 3 attempts at knocking down villages that were coin flips and got all 3, and I did. Actually, I think one of them was a mirrored thing, so I did the same move they did on their turn as I did on mine. And then I didn't get it, and I was 300 gold behind, essentially across the game because of those 3 coin flips that failed. And it was just a case of the game decided that I was going to play behind, even though I made the same decision choices as my opponent, and that was just very frustrating. And I get that like you shouldn't really be going for uh 50-50 coin flips, but if you're in a situation where you're just mirroring your opponent and they get lucky and you don't, then it's very frustrating.
Yeah, that is something I don't like about it. Although I will say that I think there was like a 6.25% chance of that happening. Um, but yeah, even so, like the situations where a coin flip is encouraged on the map, it gives you an advantage. Somebody goes for it and gets it, and they're rewarded for it. So keep in mind, in a tournament, that player would lose. That player would not make it past 1 or 2 rounds because they're gonna not get it and then start failing. But if you have an awkward map, I think Sidewinder had this problem at one point in time, where there's a
I
coin
think
flip that you can go for that doesn't mess you up too bad if you don't get it, but gives you a huge reward if you do. That's a major problem. It can usually be fixed on the map, but that is a very bad case.
it was a previous version of Headland where like basically the villages were at 40% health when the sword arrived next to it, and I think I made the suggestion to either bump the village like 5% lower or higher, and now we have a harpy coin coin flip. But generally, Harpy is a bad buy at this turn, so it's this early. I mean,
Yeah.
um,
I mean, something, and I mean, this is just occurring to me now, is that we could try something instead of just completely no RNG at all, is we could try like no RNG on buildings. Because those are the ones that
yeah,
don't, like, a building will always deal full damage to you regardless of its health. So the punishment for failing on hitting a building is like much greater than hitting a unit. Because if you don't kill a unit and it lives on like 1% health, then you're only taking a small amount of damage, and obviously there's like bigger context and failures that can come out of RNG and stuff. But compare that to like a village where if you fail, you're taking a huge amount of damage in return a lot of the time.
oh yeah, when you have a 10 HP sword hitting a 4 HP village, and it's a coin flip whether the sword dies or not.
I actually like this. Like, I can't.
Um,
I love RNG. I'm very pro RNG. I can't think of a single reason why I would be sad if RNG onto buildings went away.
yeah, I think RNG onto buildings is like one of the most glaring, like frustrating things, especially when there's coin flips, and that happen regularly, like knights coin flipping on 70% villages, for example, or and dragons actually, just like swords and 40%. And like spears got bumped up, like their damage got bumped up from 50 to 55 in 2.0 because when a village gets captured by a full HP unit, it's at 50%. So you'd have the coin flip right after the spear. I mean, right after the village got capped if you're trying to contest with the spear. So I think, yeah, relating to buildings, it's like generally it's you don't like play with, because like with the commander you can play around RNG because you're the one positioning it and stuff. With buildings they just sit around. I think maybe the only like thing I'd be a little sad about is we wouldn't see like stuff like the HQ living on 1% and stuff like that if the RNG on buildings went away. But on villages I don't see any like real reason to keep it.
The HQ is a good point. I didn't think of that. Like, maybe leave the HQ alone, but every
Oh
other building, no RNG. That
yeah,
that that would be interesting.
I remember that one game between I think it was Sejun and Valder or Alexander, whichever, uh, where like they both went for the enemy's HQ and both HQs lived on 1% the same turn, and it was like at first it was like, oh no, he failed. The RNG didn't give it to him. The HQ's on 1%, and then he's gonna lose now. And then the same thing happened. It was like so beautiful.
Although I guess like that does differentiate those win conditions like a bit. Like the stronghold becomes the more consistent kill,
Yeah,
and the commander becomes more of a risk like to go for.
yeah, it's funny because it's kind of like how I plan. Like it's a weird analogy, I guess, but when I'm planning to like clear a PvE map in a low amount of turns, like doing LTC, I usually go for the HQ because I kind of hate having to move units weirdly so that the enemy commander just suicides. So yeah, I guess the HQ is the more like consistent option for ending a game.
I have had actually a few games recently where HQ RNG determines who wins. They were legit games, like, and very, very hype. And I think the uncertainty would make it more entertaining for a viewer. But at the same time, it makes it really it does kind of leave it up to RNG. But on the other hand, in both games, both players made enough mistakes to allow that to happen that I think it should have been a coin toss. So I'm kind of on the fence about the stronghold having the RNG or not.
Yeah,
I don't know how I feel.
I
It's
can
a coin
see
flip.
both, but villages definitely.
Yeah, I love the idea of no RNG on villages. I don't have a single good reason why villages needed RNG.
Yeah. I mean, I guess maybe that's the good starting point then. It might just be that we start with building RNG just because that's easier to code. From like a programming standpoint. Just making the mods and having it be like a consistent rule as well. So like all buildings have no RNG. Um so yeah, I think that would be like a good way to start. Maybe that's what we do instead of just no RNG completely. And that also means that the CO balance testing thing that we're also going to be doing. I mean, you were talking about Koji being like really, really strong if his bombs are always consistent. Um, I guess
It's
that's
not that the bombs are consistent. It's that everything else is consistent. So you've given me a Koji in a world where a 50% lethal is guaranteed. That's the problem because Koji lethals, you can get to a 50% lethal so easily.
yeah,
Yeah, he's like, you know, he's Koji. But I guess we can talk about what we're planning to do for that balance mode, kind of.
yeah,
It's just gonna be like minor tweaks, I guess, to the top tiers. I
yeah.
mean, not
Makes
the top
sense.
tiers, the banned ones.
Yeah, I mean, well, just to end on RNG, I also want to note that even as someone who is very like, I don't like the way Wargroove does RNG. It's not like I dislike RNG at all. It's just like one of my other favorite games to play is Hero Realms, and that's a very heavy RNG game. Um, and like there are other games that involve RNG, like Age of Empires 4 is coming out, and that has random map generation. Which I'm actually a big fan of. I think that makes the game really interesting. Uh, it's
Is it
just
symmetrical?
no, actually, it's not. Um,
Oh,
I think
I
parts
guess
of
if
it are, but
I guess if exploration is a thing, then it can be fun. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think it's like you always start with like the same resources close to your base as your opponent, but the rest of the map can be very
Oh,
random.
okay.
So you always have
What
a
game
certain
is
amount
this?
of Age of Empires 4, but Age of Empires 2 has the same thing as well. So you always have a certain amount of trees near your base for woods, a gold deposit, a stone deposit, um, same amount of like food resources and stuff. But once you get outside of your base and like wood, like stuff's the same distance from your like main town center, but it's also randomly placed. So you could have a gold at the front of your base, and your opponent could have a gold at the back of theirs or something. So, um, but yeah, it's just like an example of like I do think RNG can work well in games, and I think like certain types of RNG could work well in Wargroove. I am the no RNG fan, but I do appreciate the viewpoint, especially as we've had like more recent discussions about RNG. Um, I think I do appreciate that point of view more now. But I think building RNG, if anything was to go, I think building RNG would be good.
I mean,
Yeah, I think you sold me on that.
I think it
That sounds
would
like a
be
good idea.
the thing to go away first. I think.
Yeah, and we try. I think that's something we could just try out, and then that's like almost like some of the more snowbally stuff. Um, And yeah, someone in chat. I mean, obviously we're doing the podcast. I don't normally interact with chat, but Blue Sniper in chat makes a good point. Like, it helps a lot with map design. It means map designers can do a lot more things. Like, you can plan around a building being at a certain percent. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
you can give different options to like decap or contest villages early on.
yeah,
Like I was saying, like you can have situations where like if you go for it with a sword, and then the map maker goes, okay, I don't want the sword to be a coin flip. then you get a different coin flip with another unit.
And it's not even hype. It's like one of the cool things about RNG is it's very hype. Oh, they're going for it. Is it going to work? It's like that tense, exciting moment. But with buildings, there's no hype. Oh, they randomly threw a unit at a building. Oh, and I got smacked in the face. That just feels bad. Oh, it worked. It shouldn't have. That also feels bad. There's 100% chance that I will not be happy with the outcome of a building coin flip.
It's like, oh, hey, they went for a coin flip. Anyways. And then the players are just molding.
I mean, and like, you know, my example of I went for 3 building coin flips and they didn't work, and my opponent went for 3 building coin flips and they did, and it's like, oh well, Barrett's behind now because he did the same thing as his opponent, and it's like,
Yeah.
that's just a feels bad man moment.
On the other hand, when I got a 1 out of 1,000 lethal on Sejun when I was a starting player, that was awesome.
Okay. Oh, I mean, I guess
never got something like that.
I guess that this
I
is
guess
a good.
no.
Oh, sorry. I was just
I'm
gonna say.
lying. I do get stuff like that. It's just that's not me going for the lethal.
Okay, so I guess like this is a good point to like move on. I think having a no building RNG category first, and we'll see how that goes. I think that could be quite fun. We do so Jokerfish gave us a whole bunch of Steam and Xbox/Microsoft Store codes for the game. So I think what we're thinking is that people who've been in the community that don't own the game on one of those, like on a PC platform, like we might just like hand them a code and be like, yo, you've been active in the community. We don't want to exclude you from our events. Like here, you can now play on PC and take part.
You can now have a peacock as a commander. I still haven't managed to get a good groove with that commander. It's like, I feel like there's the potential, but I never managed to reach it.
All right,
Oh yeah,
speaking.
wait, yeah, we have to do the CO balance thing as well.
Yeah, so I guess we'll talk about this as well. So there's 4 band commanders right now. People like those. I was a Ryota main before they nerfed him. I loved Ryota. Like one of my favorite commanders. There's a reason why I have a SIP emote of Ryota on my channel. And then obviously he's way too powerful to be used outside of like meme events. So and he was the first to be banned, so I guess we'll talk about his balance. We're basically reverting him to what he was before. With a slight difference. He's gonna have 50% commander damage instead of the 45% he had in 1.3. 50% is his starting damage right now for his groove. It's also, and you're gonna notice the Steam a lot, like every groove that scales based on commander damage is 50%. And we're just gonna like kind of try and be consistent with that. So all commander grooves that deal damage based on commander, yeah, like they're all just going to be 50% of commander damage.
Oh, I never actually thought of that because, yeah, I guess every time there's a splash damage group, like for example, every time I had to calc something when Ragnar group is involved, I'd basically have to open the calc because what is 65% of commander damage onto a harpy?
Yeah, like it just
Yeah, if you can remember better, I think it makes it very easy because it's half too. Like oh, like commanders do 60 tonight, so it's 30. It's easy to calc as well.
yeah. So for that reason, Ryota's going to be 50%. He's going back down to medium charge. And like one of the kind of like there was a couple of buffs that happened in Double Trouble that weren't necessarily direct buffs to his groove, but things like commander damage went up against swords and spears in Double Trouble. So his groove gets the benefit of that extra commander damage, which is like an indirect buff to his groove. And then spear meta is less of a thing, so people make more units that happen to be more vulnerable to taking commander damage from commanders. So that's
And
also technically a buff as well.
he also likes mobile units to set up his chains, I guess.
This is true. So yeah, now armies are more mobile. There's a lot more knights running around, more dogs. So, Ryota does benefit in that regard as well. So he's going back down to medium. His damage is going to be a bit higher than it was in 1.3. In percentage of commander damage, and because commanders do more damage naturally now. So that's gonna be Ryota's new groove. So Sneaky, how do you feel about Ryota going back down?
So like I really liked the scaling Yoda groove from a casual play standpoint. I thought it was really cool. It led to some like really hype things. Like if you're doing like an FFA, but the problem was it was just too good. Everybody got too good with it, and
Yeah,
when it's too good, and it ruins the hype.
it's fun until you play against it. That's where it becomes a problem.
It's a bit like playing a game with cheat codes on, and that it's fun, but it kind of like it's that kind of fun
Yeah,
that's like the
you're not
novelty wears
playing the
off.
same game, yeah.
Yeah.
Rather than cheat codes, I say it's like the first players to figure out how to do Dota amazing. That was cool to watch because it was like, okay, you did this and it was clever. You figured it out and it had this awesome result and it looked really cool. But then it was mainstream and it's like, okay, you saw the Riven video. You can play Riven now. I'm tired of all these Rivens. I don't even play League anymore, but I don't know.
What's a Riven?
Never mind. It's like, all right, you saw somebody else do this. You followed the steps in the book, and everything is dead, and we can't have nice things anymore.
Yeah, and like that's kind of, I guess, almost the curse of Wargroove being turn-based, is that once somebody sees how to do something, it's actually very easy for them to replicate it. Because there's no like mechanical
Ah,
like skill in like it's not like trying to do like a cool combo in a fighting game where you have to sit there and practice how to do it for like a bunch of time.
I'd say Emmerich and Greenfinger, and maybe the twins. Maybe not the twins, but
No,
Emmerich
definitely
and
the
Griffin
twins.
and Greenfinger are kind of hard to replicate by just watching the groove.
True, but you get what I mean, right? Like there's a
Yeah, I do.
you're not
It's
sitting
like
there practicing over and over and over again how
it's
to do
like
the thing.
yeah,
Yes,
it's
you
like
are. If you're
if you
playing
see
twins, yes, you are.
if you see someone like building a treb on a map and then it just obliterates the map, then yeah, it's really easy to replicate.
I maintain that the twins require a crap ton of practice to be anywhere near decent.
That's true, but I guess like once you do hit that point, like you can just constantly do it. Like you're just consistent. Like there's no like, oh, I did
No,
the input at the wrong frame kind of thing.
that's true. But like, there are things you can practice in Wargroove for sure. Twins definitely being one of them, but there are others. Like there are things that you can't do consistently just by watching it because it depends on the board state. Anything like that requires a lot of practice, a lot of calculation, a lot of knowing too many things to just watch. But Diodo was kind of okay, I get this. I just line my dominoes up, point it at this stronghold, and GG.
Yeah, like current Deviosa is uh he's like a checkers piece on a chessboard, is the way I always describe it.
I think you have a problem when regular games are closer to Ryota chess than actual regular games when
Yeah,
Ryota is involved.
he just turns Wargroove into something completely different, and like that can kind of be okay sometimes. And like I think Valder has sort of a similar thing in that
Ryota chess is really fun.
Real chess is very fun, but like I think the way Valder does it is it's like, oh, you have to play the early game very differently. You can't feed him groove early. You have to be very careful when fighting Valder early. And other commanders, they have that to some extent, but it's not like, oh, well, now Valder has like 3 swords that you don't, and like has a big unit can't lead like on turn 8. Uh, people are probably going to nitpick that and be like, oh, Rivaldo can't get that many swords, but whatever. You get what I mean, right?
Baldur can get 3
Yeah,
swords by turn 8, I think.
Yeah, I think he can.
it depends on the map, yeah, but he definitely can, and then that's why you ban him on that map.
Kill groove, kill groove, kill groove. Turn. Ah,
Yeah,
it's a
you
little
reach
unlikely.
turn. Yeah, actually no, because you reach your first hit thing on turn 5, so you groove turn 6. So no, you get 2 swords by turn 8.
Yeah, give or take. But you get the point I'm trying to make, right?
Yeah.
He changes the game, but he does it in kind of a healthy way, or the healthier way, I should say, because there's definitely a lot of map makers who want to do things that can't because Valder exists. But Ryota is like, once he gets grooved, then it's just you have to play around the idea that he has lethal from across the map.
On your commander, on your army, on your stronghold.
Just put your stronghold in the corner, then he can't groove it.
I wonder how it would work actually if you had no RNG on buildings and the strongholds, but
Well,
RNG on
actually,
units.
a big thing of Ryota is that when you do the giant chain, the RNG the RNG ranges expand. So like after your 20th dash or something, the RNG range isn't like 5. It's more like 10, I guess.
Right. That's that's kind of hilarious. I didn't actually know about that.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
means that you could get a plus 20 on this dash. You could also get a minus 20.
It's the same reason that the RNG and Koji bombs are scaled down, because
Yeah.
the commander multiplier is the last thing applied.
Right. That okay. That's
All right. Next commander.
yeah. So I guess we were talking about it earlier. Ragna going down from 65% commander damage to 50. Um, it's one of those. It seems like the simplest thing to nerf and makes it her consistent with all the other commanders that do 50% damage.
I think maybe I mean, right now we're just trying to nerf them in like the way that changes them the least. But if we were to like nerf Ragna in an interesting way, I'd say something like she damages herself when she jumps or something.
Ooh.
That is another possibility.
That way, it's really about how much you can push Ragna in and how much the opponent like prepares to kill Ragna after she jumps.
Or before.
Yeah, like he prepares before to kill her after she jumps. Yeah,
So
that was a weird way to say it.
I love that, but mages.
Yeah, I know, but just have it be like 30%, and then you have to commit mages to it or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that still means
Means
there's
the
like
groove costs 600.
yeah, you have to like yeah, you're spending money to use your groove essentially, which does make it kind of interesting in its own way. Um,
I
I mean,
think
going back just
it,
to the 50%, like Sneaky, how do you feel about just the flat damage nerf?
it's not enough. Ragna's so the one of the weird reasons that Ragna is really strong is Ragna can jump really far and then do damage in a big radius. So it's sort of like having a global missile silo that's your commander. I think in order to like and the real problem is you can't counterplay it. So like on a map that has like a big terrain effect in the middle and you're fighting on multiple fronts. Ragna can front switch and then immediately win the other front. And there's nothing you can
Yeah,
do about it. If you pull back the other front, Ragna will just all in the front Ragna is on.
I think that's also a thing, but I mean, I guess with Ragna at like with the current like 50% Ragna we're gonna test, I think Vesper is kind of useless. But we'll see, I guess. I also think like the big strength of Ragna is like the range, but Like 50% of commander damage isn't like a gigantic amount, I feel.
Yeah,
I
It
and
does
would
feel like
reduce.
you need like you need the armies to already be like somewhat engaged or like in range of each other for the groove to be efficient, because Ragnar groove just like jumping on an army is not going to kill it. Like it's gonna make it move back a few squares and like heal, basically. And I think that's kind of an issue I had with the old Ragnar, is that she could just jump on your army alone, and then I mean somewhat alone, and then you would be like, okay, my army is dead and I have no way to like heal this in a relatively short amount of time.
I
So I
think the
think it
jump
takes away that
range.
aspect, so I think it does nerf Ragnar.
sorry, Sneaky, go ahead.
I think the jump range should have to be reduced a little bit, maybe like 1 square, just to
Yeah,
make it a little bit more counterplayable.
that's
It's
definitely
true.
something that could be done as well.
It's like if we take the Dark Mercia analogy, like once she has her groove and then like 3 or 4 witches online, you have to count spaces away from DM and go like, I can't put my commander here. uh, which doesn't happen often, but like just for the counterplay purposes, it like DM can move 4 squares and then has a range of 3, I believe. No, it might be 2 actually. Is it 3? I think it's 3. I think it is 3.
Yeah, I think it's 3. It's either 3 or 4.
So yeah, you're basically like 7 squares away from her with your commander. I mean 8 or more. And it is quite interesting because it's not like a big AoE, but you still have to respect it. Ragna is has quite a bit more range because the AoE is 4, and then she can move 4 squares and then has 5 jump range. So trying to escape the groove isn't really gonna work.
I mean, do you think rather than cutting one range off her jump, one radius off of her AoE would be good?
I think so, yeah, because like one of the old ways, like one of the only old ways to counterplay Ragnar was like you stockpile witches, dragons, and stuff like that, so that when she jumps, you try to kill her. Which I mean, I still think that was why Koji wins the Ragnar matchup. uh,
Whoa, but bold opinion. We can talk about that
yeah,
later.
but I mean, I didn't test it much because I was banning them. um, so yeah, if you like have less radius, it means that if she wants to get the big splash damage, she has to expose herself more, which is, you know, it's a slow groove. So late game, you're gonna have to consider whether you can take the risk or you're just gonna die.
For me, I think it's more about the jump than the damage radius, because you're not really going to be able to put units outside of Ragnar's damage radius. If Ragnar has 1 less damage radius, that's significant, but it can still heal like hit like a bulk of things you're going after. If they can still jump from across the map, you have to expect Ragnar can always do that. But if their jump is a little bit less, you can be a little bit closer.
Yeah, but I think the
Although
radius does also like reduce like
it takes away
because
one from the range as well.
yeah, one from the range means you reach quite a few less units. So that means you can punish better the army that follows up on the groove as well. So I think it's quite significant.
Um,
And actually, if you take -1 radius or -1 range, then the radius is
like
it's
the overall
basically
range, like
-1 range in both cases.
yeah, it's -1 range. It's just like the radius one also impacts the damage, like overall
Yeah.
damage you can do a bit more.
I did always feel that the AoE was so big, like for
I
no
actually
reason.
legit forgot it was 4. Like, it's been so long since I've Ragnagrooved or seen a Ragnagroove that I legitimately I thought it was 3, but if it's 4, then that's huge. I mean, I also just thought of it's me being funny and memey, but what if Ragnagroove didn't do 50% commander damage? What if it did a random value between 0 and 50% commander damage?
Oh,
What?
you love RNG, right?
What?
And it's a random
Who are
amount on
you?
everything it hits.
That's the kind of RNG I wouldn't like.
What have you done with Barrett, you imposter?
I mean, I did say it was a meme joke.
It is
Okay,
memey.
fair enough.
That's like if we ever made like have you ever heard of Brawl Minus? It's a mods that like took Smash Brothers Brawl and made it completely like ridiculous. Um, and like it's one of those like it's balanced because everything is so like completely unbalanced. So like Ganondorf punch deals like 999% and always one shots kind of thing.
I see.
That kind of thing.
Sounds like it's like, hey, competitive players, you want to enjoy a casual experience again?
Maybe we should make a Wargroove minus or something.
Well, like,
Maybe.
that's actually how Dota balances its game. They don't try to bring everything in line with each other. That's more the League method. Everything is, oh, you have to auto attack 3 times to get this percent health. It's about 10 and scales this way. And every commander starts looking like the same. Dota was like, oh, every commander is flippin' different, completely unbalanced, but you get a team of 5 of them, good luck. And it works.
Yeah, I've heard like Dota balances by basically bringing everything up constantly.
Well, yeah,
Like,
there's this power creep and everything, but yeah.
there's power creep, but they only buff stuff all the time. I think that's what I was told. Might be wrong though. I heard there's like 12-second CCs and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's definitely Dota has a lot of very zany stuff that I mean, like I was talking to someone recently about, and we're going a bit off topic, but I was talking to someone about when I stopped watching the international, which happened fairly recently this year actually. And the year I stopped watching was Pudge Hook because I enjoyed it so much, and I heard they took it out, and it was like, oh no, it was the teleport with Pudge. So you have someone that teleports someone else to the main base after like 10 seconds, 8 seconds, something like that. And if you time it correctly while Pudge throws his hook out, he teleports as the hook grabs them, and they get brought
Of
across the
course.
entire map. Yeah. And
Into the fountain.
yeah. I think I don't know, maybe we should make a very fun, completely casual Wargroove experience where like RNG is doubled and
Oh no.
commanders do like weird stuff like Ryota Dash can like has a chance on dash to heal their opponent. Or no, the damage just goes up and down randomly. Maybe something like that.
Oh, it's like you have a random chance of either healing or damaging the enemy. There we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. And it could heal and damage your own units as well as your opponent.
Yeah. It's true. And then you have the same with Wolfar. And you can have the twins be RNG whether the water or the fire gets placed.
No, no.
Volder summons a
Um,
random unit. Oh.
oh no.
But oh,
You
you could just make it
yeah,
100
you
gold
can
cost.
you could have like Valder like include units that can't stand on that terrain, so that like he summons a balloon on a flagstone and then the balloon immediately dies or something.
Oh, that's good. But you could make it so that it's always like like 100 golds worth of that unit or something.
Yeah.
So you could summon like an 8% health golem or something.
For twins, I think what would be more fun rather than you don't know what you're going to get. Once you get Groove, you will use it every turn. You have no control over where it goes, and you don't know what you're going to get.
Oh, what if it's like fire and water alternate? So like you put a fire tile down and then the next turn it's water.
Oh, that's interesting. I think we're getting off topic.
We are getting off topic. We'll talk about this is I don't know, like I mean I kind of miss Project Groove stuff. We stopped working on it for a few different reasons and like one of them was that my PC stopped working with mods. Actually, it works with mods again now, so maybe we'll do some fun stuff, but Project Groove is like shelved for the moment. Okay, so next one. As far as commander, so like Ragnar, I guess maybe we'll cut a radius off as well. Just for the initial change.
Yeah, I think she'll still be like pretty decent.
Yeah. And I kind of want to like I think over nerfing a commander even if just a little bit is better than keeping them too powerful because like the idea is we want people to actually play them. So yeah.
I mean, so far we're not really over nerfing them, I feel.
Okay. All right, so next is Koji. And the change we're gonna make, and like there's like 3 or 4 different ways you could nerf Koji, but we're just going with the bombs take 100%. We might have to change this to 105% to stop the coin flips, or maybe we leave it at 100% and it's just coin flip city. But
Yeah, but with the in combination with no RNG, 100 works.
yeah, but I think if we're gonna do no RNG just on buildings, then Koji bombs.
Oh, right.
If it's no RNG just on buildings, then I think Koji becomes balanced. It was the commander situation that had me worried. But I
with
liked
the nerf-
Fated's idea with like the all units can damage the bombs, but it's still like 55.
I think Flea Sniper said that originally, but yeah, it's that's another possibility. I mean, maybe we start with just all units can hit bombs.
But I think that's less fun. It's
But
less
it's
fun than having.
balance.
It's less fun to have a unit that takes 55 from everything than to have a unit that is like trolling your enemy because it's an air unit until like something that can hit it arrives.
You can't wall with it though. If the bomb can be killed by any anti-air, guaranteed, then I just build 2 archers and
Yeah.
Koji is a worse Ragnar again.
Yeah, but you have to put those archers pretty close to Koji and a bunch of other stuff that the bombs are nearby.
I think well from I mean if we're looking at 1.3, Koji was not especially strong and he was kind of just there for I think you just kind of had to get value on the turn you groove and like immediately blow up the bombs. So I think maybe we go with the everything does 55. Although you do run into the issue that now a sword and an archer do the same thing as one archer if there's like a bomb that gets one shot by everything. And you know, you rarely have a sword without an archer next to it.
That's true.
Or
That's
I mean no,
true.
the opposite. An archer without a sword next to it.
But it at least forces you to advance. You have to pay some cost for killing the bombs. Because otherwise, you're right, it's just 1.3 Koji, and 1.3 Koji could not wall.
Well, there is a slight difference. 1.3 Koji took 800% bomb damage. So, like, an injured unit could sneeze at it and it would explode.
Yeah, now you can hex an archer and then it wouldn't kill. Does make me it does remind me of all the moments where he hexed the mage and then balloon walled. These don't happen nowadays because of all the knights.
Look, I as a player would prefer the 100% anti-air thing, just because then if I play Koji, I'm gonna play 1.3 Koji. And if Shu plays Koji, then Shu can't wall me. But like, to be fair to the mechanics players, I think the 55% thing is better for the mechanics playstyle.
I think so too, because we also want to test new stuff, right? So we're in like we're we don't want to just go back to 1.3 Koji, even though it's not like he was played in the same maps with the same context, but like bringing 1.3 Koji back wouldn't like be anything new, I feel.
Right. I mean, well, I still think there's a big difference between an archer on full health one-shotting a bomb and an archer on, what would it be, like 13% health one-shotting a bomb? So you could hit an archer with like a dog, for example, and it would still be able to kill the bomb.
But you had no dogs in 1.3.
You get what I mean.
Yeah, you're right. It's a difference. It's a difference.
I still think it's more interesting to have everything does 55, because then, like, you love wagons, and one of wagons' main strengths is they don't get one shot, so you can do walls with them.
That's true.
And basically, you'd have the bombs do that, except they also die if they combo with an archer and a sword. But that's more on the Koji player to place bombs properly.
Yeah. Okay, I think I've been convinced. And I get, like, the main thing about this as well is that it's going to be in a test your metal event. We're not going to be trying this for a main event. Like, maybe we look at this for Groove of War 8 as a possibility, but, like, that's a very, we would have to get agreement from the players, like, playing kind of thing.
Yeah, all the Switch players.
Well,
all the
if we
Xbox and
did go,
PS4 players.
if we did go for that, we would say like qualifying for the main event gives you a code, to the game so you can play it on PC. So we would do our best to like accommodate, but it really would just come down to like what the player base thinks. I would never just spring it on people being like, okay, now you need to play on PC, go buy a copy of the game. It would be like, hey, Wargroove can run on a toaster. Here's a copy of the game for Steam or something.
It can. I have an example right in front of me.
Yeah, I mean, like it really does run on low powered hardware. Obviously not amazingly, but anyway, that's getting a little bit off topic again. So the last commander is Caesar, Sneaky's favorite commander. The Doggo. We're doing the most obvious nerf. I don't know if it's going to be enough, but it's what we're going to do. He's going from medium to slow, and we'll see how that goes.
I think it's just like the most obvious, and like I don't really see a way to like nerf him that would not make stuff weird.
Yeah, because it's like,
other than just putting him at slow. And also, like, if you put him at slow, it means he gets groove at a stage of the game that you have more options to like counterplay Caesar groove somewhat.
that's true. And I guess like there's also things like certain commanders would do quite well against him that are like medium charge. Like Greenfinger, I think, would do quite well against that because you would have the vines up, which means that okay, like Caesar gets to use 4 units again, but you've got essentially 5 units to wall in front of your army with, and you get those on a more regular basis than Caesar would get. So, I mean, obviously, it doesn't fix things like Caesar being able to groove.
Caesar is still Caesar.
Caesar is still Caesar. Caesar can definitely, murder a lot of things. Like
Caesar is the best assassin commander. That's why I miss my doggo.
He is, like, really is. Like, you can use, like, you can have a dragon go up, knock down a unit, that's like walling, and then like Caesar groove it and then use it again. So you can like chew through walls and stuff like that. You could run, I mean, I guess ballista in this example. It used to be trabs, but I mean, oh
Right. Oh no, Caesar's gonna ballista groove me. Ah.
That's hilarious. I would try that.
I mean, actually, that is a serious threat on some maps.
I mean, I guess if there's road, that means your air is basically dead to turn Caesar grooves.
Yeah, because like ballista now has like all of that extra range. But you used to have like trebloon, so you drop 2 trebuchets, then Caesar would groove both of them.
Yeah, that was a thing.
That was definitely a thing. So yeah, this is like the most obvious change. Caesar, if he needs more of a change, I don't know what we would do. Maybe put him to very slow, but I don't know if
No.
but we'll see. I mean, it's just a case of like we're gonna try this all out, and then we'll see what happens there.
Also, like against Caesar, a lot of times it felt like like not counting the times where he like grooves and then kills their commander. Most of the times like he would groove once and then I'd manage to like recover from the first groove, and then he'd just groove a second time because he's medium. I'm like, no, all that hard work, and then he just does it again.
Yeah, I can agree that the charge speed was overtuned. Caesar, for what they can do, should be slow because the other slow commanders are more in line with Caesar's power level.
Yeah.
I
Although
also maintain that there's Caesar syndrome, and that is Caesar is hard to play. People don't play Caesar, so they don't know how to counterplay Caesar. So they're like, I died out of nowhere. This was impossible to stop. Where I'm like, you could have just moved that one sword, one tile
Well,
down, and
I mean, I will tell you to that it's easier to calculate a Caesar groove on your turn than on the opponent's turn.
that's true for everybody.
it's harder. I think Caesar's a bit harder to play around. Like you compare it to like Nuru dropping a knight, for example, on her turn, and then like you have to then once Nuru has groove, you have to always be aware that Nuru can knight crit like half the map. And then you add Caesar to that, and it's like, well, he can quadruple knight crit a lot of the map, and it's like, oh, it's pretty strong. But I do think that compared to like Vesper Groove, Ragnar Groove, although we're gonna nerf Ragnar Groove, probably even new Ragnar Groove. Caesar's more in that kind of level of has the ability to just kind of obliterate on one turn. So I guess we'll see.
Caesar will always be the best assassin. There's no way
But
around it.
Ryota,
Well, okay, Yoda being at a reasonable level.
Ryota, but current Ryota is the best at everything, so
Yes.
Caesar can't be the best assassin.
Okay, that's true. But like any kind of balanced Yoda, actually maybe balanced Yoda might still be better. I'm not sure. It depends.
I think Caesar would.
It becomes
Caesar would.
situational.
Yeah, it becomes like a discussion, which is, more
Not the case right
interesting.
now.
Yeah, it becomes a discussion, and that's a good thing. That means they're in line enough that we can debate it.
Yeah,
Yep,
there would be
and then-
situations where Ryota would do better and situations where Caesar would do better. I think is a
Definitely.
fair way to put it. As opposed to now where it's Ryota does better like 99.999% of the time. All he needs
The dog of a
is
nerf is going to raise the already high skill ceiling on Caesar. I'm okay with that, but like new players are gonna need a training manual to ever win a game with Caesar. Slow.
yeah, there's actually it was a fun thing when Caesar was tournament legal for like that one event. His win rate wasn't the best because a lot of newer players would try playing Caesar and die.
Yeah, because you would ban Caesar against like the top players, but then you would not against the newer players.
I literally said that in the tier list video I did. Yeah, don't ban Caesar against new players. What are you doing? It's a free win.
And they're still up. There's counterplay to Caesar as well, which we didn't really have. Like Caesar's like you have to damage the units near him, and then he can't really groove. And Ryota was like, well, even if Ryota's units are damaged, you can
Box
still jump over them.
formation.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so awkward. It's funny. There was a small period before we like banned Ryota where everyone was like having games with like super big lines to like counterplay Ryota and stuff, and it was so ridiculous. I think I remember. Like Shu was doing on Butterfly, he had like a giant square of units that reached all the way to the sea, and then Ryota still managed to groove through all that. And then it was from that moment I think that Shu was like, okay, Ryota is broken.
Oh, I wish we had like, because we have the replay viewer now, and like, oh, I wish some of the earlier games we had like those replays available. It'd just be like you'd see the turn, and it would just be like like move 11 and then move 12, and like half the map is gone. Because like I don't know, actually I don't know how the replay viewer treats Ryota Groove if it's just like one big jump that happens.
Grooves are just like one, like it basically it's like it moves Ryota and then adjusts the HP values and everything.
Oh, there's some great meme potential there of like before and after
Oh,
Ryota Groove.
yeah, that's true. Oh, you can do that in the game with screenshots, I guess.
That's also true. But okay.
Before we change the topic, just one quick thing I want to say, because this is really weird. There's an indirect nerf to Caesar that's come out in the recent map meta, and that's the Co versus army kind of situation. Caesar hates that. Caesar has always hated that. You want Caesar to be with the army. It's one of the reasons that Wolfar got so good lately. Because when you have Co versus army, all right, let me throw a knight into the commander, early yoink into a mountain. So like Wolfar can just completely counter that and become a Valder. But Doggo is like, I want all my units near me. I don't want my golem on the other side of the map. I want my golem next to me.
Yeah, I think it's like not all the maps are like that, but that's like one of the most effective way of playing the maps. So, I mean, if we realize Slow Caesar is too weak, then maybe we'll consider unbanning him, you know?
I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Like even Caesar on the worst Caesar maps, I think Caesar's still pretty good. But I think it'll be interesting to try out, and I mean I'm not hoping for any kind of balance change officially or anything, but I think it would be cool to just like give people a place where they can play these commanders. I miss playing Ryota. Like really
I think
miss
we
him.
this is just an excuse to get Ryota clips to do some advertisement.
Yeah, I mean I have to make a trailer for Groove of War 7, and I was thinking about it, and it's just like all I can think about is like some French thing, like Team France like rallying behind like Saikoya after winning Groove of Nations. That's all I've got really. Maybe there was also like a thing I'm thinking about. We're
with
doing some like
sneaky with like spying equipment next to it.
maybe, but I mean the
I
other
don't
one
know.
is like there's some mass conspiracy they're trying to uncover as to why everybody with the letter S is like such a strong player.
That's a good idea actually.
Maybe involve like the map skirmish or something. Maybe I think there could be some fun stuff there, but um, it's hard to come up with stuff because like uh, Ryota plays are like super flashy in a way that like other commanders don't quite have. I mean, there's obviously very flashy plays that can happen, but Ryota can definitely do stuff in a single like groove that is just like really cool. And even if you nerf it, even if you do like when ramping was like -5 in that one version of Project Groove, I still beat Shu with it. Like it's such a strong groove. Like and he's like super flashy as well, so I will never let that story go. By the way, I love the fact that I beat Shu with like the most nerfed Ryota possible. But um,
Well, I mean, he was still like fast and starting at 50%.
this is true. And it was all about the mobility side of things as opposed to the damage. But oh well. Anyway, let's go into Groove of War 7 discussion. We're actually coming up to 2 hours. I probably want to cut it at 2 hours. So we'll have to kind of go over this pretty quickly. There isn't that much different about Groove of War 7, honestly, compared to Groove of War 6. Like, the rule set hasn't really changed that much. It's still like 1 hour chess timer for most matches. Still has the same sudden death rule. There's a 45-minute chess timer for Den Runaway. It's mostly just like the players that are going to be there and like the map pool, and that's really it. So I guess like let's go over maps first, and then we can talk about players.
Just to let you guys know, I may have to drop in a couple of minutes.
Okay, right. Well, we'll go over the maps quickly, and then because I mean we should probably wrap this up pretty soon anyway.
You guys can go on without me. That's fine.
Okay,
so
right.
Headland.
So we'll do maps in order. Shifting Sands 2.1. Have people had a chance to play 2.1 yet?
Not me. I've
had
seen like
minimal
a few
free time.
games on it, and seems to be kind of like wacky, and it feels like everything is connected. Like all the fronts are somewhat connected, which I mean, on every map that's the case, but usually you can have well, usually it's like you can mostly play the game of like sections of the map where you fight, and then places where you move to go to these sections of the map, and then they shift a little bit until you reach the HQ, but that generally is how it works. Shifting Sands, in a few games I've seen, you just fight everywhere. That's like, it's like a constant night fest, I guess. Well, not anymore since Knights got nerfed on that map, but seems like it was really a different way of playing. Like it's a map that feels a bit different. It feels fresh.
Yeah, I
Well,
will
I'm not
say,
sure.
having played on the version with so the change was the central barracks can't build knights. You still have that feeling of you're fighting all over the place, but it's not just knights all over the place. Like other units kind of get in there a bunch too. And if you want to like reinforce with knights, it takes a bit longer because they have to come from the corner.
Feels like it would be a great sedge map where like there's fighting all over the place, and then you groove all over the map at once.
I'm just gonna put the event page in chat. People can actually look at this now.
Oh, I'm gonna check this out.
So yeah, I mean, Sneaky, you said you haven't really had a chance to play Shifting Sands.
Not the new one.
Okay. It's still fairly new. I think this is one of the ones where people are gonna get the most last minute practice because the other maps have been around for quite a while. Speaking of, next map, Headland to Deadlands.
Not the same map as the last event, though.
It has one tile difference. Like a flagstone that was. I don't know how people missed that it was asymmetrical for so long. Like that the flagstone was in the wrong place. It was like used for about 6 months until someone pointed it out, and then we were like, "Oh, it's on an important tile too." So it's like, okay. But yeah, Headland to Deadland. How do you both feel about it returning to the map pool once again?
There's been a few small developments in the opening, and I think playing Merciful really makes me have a new look at a lot of the maps. Like, cause like, especially when I was maining Emmerich, it was all about I take this path, and then at the end I drop my crystal, or like I have it, and playing with Merciful kind of makes me actually play the map and not cheese it with Emmerich all the time. So I think there's still like a bit of new stuff of like not exactly what everything. Like there's still quite a few subtleties I'm seeing here and there, and I'm gonna have to spend some more time on it, even though it's been in like 2 tournament cycles already. Wait,
Yeah, I mean,
was it 2 or was it 1?
1.8 was in the last one, and then
Oh yeah,
1.5, I want to
1.5.
say.
Yeah, it was very different though.
Yeah, it's been around for a long time. It's probably the most used tournament map. Like if you include this one. Uh,
Well, I mean, it's 3 different versions, you know.
yeah, well, this one and the previous one is mostly the same. It was just a small hot fix, but yeah. Sneaky, how do you feel about Headland returning?
Well, it's a different headland than the last Groove of War, I think. Was it?
Last one was 1.8. This is 1.8.1.
Oh wow, I have no sense of time. Oh yeah, this is not the one where I think Space Front killed me
No,
on, and I
that
got that
was Groove of
coin
War
flip on
5.
the golem thing.
The Groove of War 6 one is the one you knocked me out on.
I like that one slightly better. This map is a lot, I guess. I think Saikoya covered it pretty well. I have nothing to add.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can also see like almost every unit in like a single game.
Yeah, it's definitely like it's very rare that like I'll see a game on Headland that feels the same as another one. I will say that much. Um, it has a lot of variety in like the things that can happen on it. I've seen barracks get pushed in. I saw recently we had a game where the village to the left of Reds stronghold
Oh
got
yeah.
decapped. Never seen that before, but it still happens. So it's like,
Yeah, the village right next to the barracks got decapped.
yeah. So
uh,
it just has a ton of variety, and I really like it for that. So I'm looking forward to it. This is probably going to be its last event. We're probably going to rotate it out after this one, but it's still a very enjoyable map to play on, and who knows, maybe it will come back in the future, like
yeah, we'll
way later
have
down the line.
Headland to Deadland 1.10
Yeah, something like
or
that.
2.0, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Faded, the person in chat, who made the map, is like saying it had a good run. I mean, it's had a fantastic run, like as a map. It's been pretty consistently good, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And
Also,
speaking,
it was the first map when we started to see like river tiles near the center and stuff, I
that's
think.
true. I think it was that,
It, wa-
and
it was that period, I guess.
yeah,
That
open
and open
season and
season,
Headland,
yeah.
yeah. Um,
Now it's everywhere.
uh, yeah, actually, there's quite a lot of maps have that here. But a map that doesn't have that is Gilgamesh, which is the next one. And we have Gilgamesh 1.9.1. This is the one where dragons are allowed again. I think golems are still banned though.
The listas are allowed.
Ballistas are allowed. How do you both feel about Gilgamesh?
You know, Gilgamesh was in Groove of War 4, and I still didn't really figure like how you're supposed to play early with the commander and the sword contesting, and I'm s- I guess I'm gonna have to find an answer. uh, there's like I think if you play on this map, you gotta like keep in mind dragon crits are a thing, and your commander can die pretty fast with that. I think it's it's a bit like it. The early game is important, the mid game is important, the late game can can be like very different depending on what units survived the mid game. So Gilgamesh, although I guess like there's like more or less the same opening phase with like different degrees of success depending on like how it plays out. The mid game and the late game are usually very different. So I think Gilgamesh is a map you want to practice against like multiple people and not just one. Because if you practice it against just one, then you're both gonna do the same thing all the time, and then you won't like uh, realize that there's other ways to play the map and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's definitely true of Gilgamesh and Headland. There's a lot of ways to open.
yeah. I am definitely a believer in the wagon opening on Gilgamesh. And had a lot of fun playing with that. I'm looking forward to if we see some wagon play. But I've also seen lots of games where like no wagons at all. So there's like a ton of
Yeah.
variety, just like even among like whether people just make wagons or don't make wagons. Like
There's a hideout. It's there, and after a few
Wait,
games, I just decided not to capture it because I didn't think it was worth it.
is this the latest version of the map? This doesn't look right.
Yeah, it is.
yeah, it's the latest one.
No, because the hideout's too exposed. I thought it was more open on the latest one.
We're talking about Gilgamesh.
Yeah, Gilgamesh is
Yeah.
1.9.1. Is that the right picture? Is that the right version? I could have sworn that Faded left the hideout open. Like there's no mountain there anymore.
I don't remember that.
I guess we're gonna have to go check. I'm pretty sure the mountain is still there.
Well, it doesn't change much. I still wouldn't cap the hideout.
I mean, I'm the opposite. I actually do capture the hideout. I do make thieves when it's appropriate. So that's another thing. Like there is a lot of variety like within that as well. Like some people just skip the hideout. I remember it used to be that was a village back in the day, right?
Yep. It was like controlled by the enemy and you had to like mage crit it at some point.
Yeah, there's a specific turn for that. Or you sword hit it like really early. I recall that being a thing. And there was stuff about Valder hitting it and causing problems.
Yeah, that was the early days of the map
Yeah,
where it was nicknamed Valdermesh, and yeah.
very true. Okay, so Gilgamesh, it's another one that's coming back. This is one's actually coming back after a leave of absence. It was used in Groove War 4. Obviously, a very different. It had very different map making decisions about hideout position and the enemy village and all that stuff. So, looking forward to seeing how that plays now. It'll obviously be very different to how it used to play back in the day.
Yeah, I think back in the day you used to like make like the strategy I had to come up with Basic is like we make a golem to like kill the enemy commander at the end of his opening. And that doesn't work anymore because there's like the tile on one side of the barracks that can't make knights, and then golems are just bad. So now commanders don't just die on the side they're supposed to be strong on.
Makes sense. All right, let's keep going with this. Den Runaway makes its debut appearance. I mean, Dendritic was in a previous Groove of War, but Den Runaway will be featuring in this event. So, how do both of you feel about Den Runaway?
I look forward to someone attacking the stronghold and dying on turn 0.
I can't remember if that's possible or not,
Actually,
actually.
Sneaky. That reminds me of that one Ryoda chess game we played where you were thinking during 5 minutes the first turn only to like suicide onto a village.
Yeah. Yeah, I lost a game in turn 0. I did make that video. That was not on purpose. I didn't realize that the village would just kill me.
I can't remember. Can you actually die in this version of Den Runaway on turn 1?
I have no idea. I did not test that
Okay.
specific.
Yes, you can. Because I'm looking at it, and I don't know if the stronghold can kill you, but the enemy sword definitely can for player 1. So if you attack the enemy sword, the counterattack damage will kill you.
Oh, right, yeah. But I think the stronghold, I can't remember
yeah,
if I
the
did or not.
stronghold does more than a sword. Yeah, it surely does.
No, it does less. To a commander.
Yeah,
Well, I guess you're in position to get smacked by the sword again next turn, so I mean, yeah, I mean it might be actually that I put the random chance to kill your commander on turn 1 because like Volder could then hit the stronghold technically and get an even bigger advantage if he did it from the correct sides. Because then he could just spawn a sword really quick and then kill the opposing commander with it or something like that.
Oh, wow, I didn't even think of that. That's hilarious.
So I think there is actually a chance of you dying on turn 1.
Wait. It's RNG?
I think it's RNG.
Oh no!
Oh, it's gonna be the ultimate BM if you pick if you're up 2 games in a best of 5 and then you pick this map and Valder and you hit DHQ turn 1. You're
Wait a
not
minute,
even
wait a minute.
afraid.
Even I'm not in favor of that. Why did you make it RNG?
I mean, I don't think anyone would go for that, right?
Says the person most likely to do it.
Okay, well, I guess we're gonna find out. I mean, from what I've seen of Den Runaway, it seems to play out relatively well. So I mean,
I think,
it solves the FDA SDA issues that Dendritic had. I don't know if
yeah,
it then creates more issues, but
yeah, that's the big question is, will it be more broken than what it fixed?
yeah,
I mean, so far from what I've seen, it doesn't seem to be too broken. It does seem like there's a really tough choice that you have, a really tough question on turn 1 is do you capture the village? And I think you need a lot of prep to know if you want to do it or not.
yeah. Because if you capture it, I think it opens up Merfolk quicker. But then again, your opponent can get the thief out and steal from it. So yeah, there's a bunch of questions about what's actually worth doing in your opening, but that kind of makes it interesting. People will probably science it out and figure that all out, but I'm looking forward to it, and I think Den Runaway is one of the maps that's the most likely to kind of just get broken. Um, Purely because you can science out so much of it. It is a 1 barracks map. And the opening, I did spend when I was making this version of Dendritic, I did spend a bunch of time making sure that there's no your commander just dies in the first 5 turns kind of thing. There's no guaranteed counterplay, so yeah, I'm interested. It's also it's the first runaway commander map we've had in a main tournament before, so
Yeah, you can now expect a lot more to come, maybe. If it works. If it doesn't, well, it was fun.
I definitely approve of Den Runaway. I like having at least one Rax map, one Rax map in the tourney. I think one Rax maps add an interesting challenge where what you build starts mattering a lot more, and it creates that strategy a little bit. And I think although they're vulnerable to certain kinds of science, I think 2 Rax maps are more vulnerable to kind of FTA snowball science, which we've been seeing more of. I don't know. But I do have to run away myself.
okay.
So thanks for having me, guys. This was super fun. Catch you later.
Right, catch you there. Thank you again for joining
Bye.
us. Okay, so we have 2 more maps, and then I guess we'll talk about the players.
Just
So
the runaway thing, I just want to say quickly that basically the like the map making for competitive has been like going in a direction where it reduces the commander's impacts like quite heavily. And I think run away, like having commanders run away or something similar, is a very interesting way to have the the issue presented to you of like your commander is at low HP at the beginning, because and it adds a more fun way to something, for a fun aspect of like you have to play with the commander before it becomes active,
Yeah.
where it's not like a cap bot before you reinforce it or something.
Yeah, and also there's things like because you're if you're capturing stuff with your commander, your opponent can also be decapping it, which flattens the curve a little bit early game, so there's a whole bunch of units out on the map before like knights start becoming a thing, for example. I mean, down runaway, you have to get your merfolk out and your water village captures and all that as well. But a lot of the time, what we see is people just make swords, and then both players make knights as soon as they can, and this kind of adds a bit more variety to that. Which is actually something I forgot to mention about shifting sands earlier. Is early mage is really strong on shifting sands because knights are less of a factor in the early game, and there is actually a village capture. There's actually a village capture route that a mage can do that's incredibly strong economically.
We're gonna see some village yoinks again with mages.
Yeah. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting.
That's
So
been a while actually. I think the last one I remember was Headland 1.5, where you built a mage to yoink a village.
I feel like I kind of remember that. Okay. Anyway, moving on. We're past the 2 hour mark. We should get close to wrapping this up. Ominous 2.2. How do you feel about Ominous?
So Ominous is like one of the Groove of Nation maps that we kind of prepped quite a bit. It was the previous version, but basically we were playing with the assumption that Wolfar can golf a golem, a defending golem into the sea tile, and it played fine, and we had a lot of fun with it. And then we prepped well, we won. So there's definitely, it's not a simple map. You do have like there is questions answered that like you have to include an answer to how do you defend your HQ early at the end of your opening. And if you don't have the answer, you're gonna be behind. But there's multiple ways to answer, which is pretty fun.
Yeah. And
Um,
actually, unlike Groove of Nations, which didn't have commander bans, like we could see people just being like, I don't want to deal with the Wolfar attacking my stronghold early game. So
that's true.
the kind of like on maps, there are some maps which turn into base races with certain commanders being picked, and I think
Yeah,
once
but
those are out of the picture, it changes quite a bit.
basically we were like playing Wolfar mirrors and stuff like that to test it out, and we didn't kill the HQ.
Okay.
So yeah, and I think like the water tile got nerfed anyways, so it's less easy to golf a golem there or something.
Yeah, you can golf it all the way to the other side of the map, and it will take damage. But it's a beach tile it lands on now, as opposed to water.
All right.
So I mean, if you're going for HQ lethal, it'll still be out of the way
Yeah,
for a few
out
turns.
of the way.
Um,
Which in theory doesn't affect the HQ rush if you kill the HQ, but it affects the pressure, which is really good.
yeah.
So yeah, ominous fun map. It's like you have some thief shenanigan early game with the barge and stuff. Uh,
Oh, it does have that pre-deployed thief. Um, so that's I guess is the map's gimmick is that you get a thief, and you can't build more thieves.
yep.
so you have to be careful with it. I
And
had
the map is quite open with like a lot of thief targets, but the thief takes a long time to get anywhere. So the thief is like a mid-game thing, which like kind of arrives in the middle of the game. It's like, hey, there's a thief now, and it's really fun.
I had a practice game against Red Jams, and I got a village steal with the thief, and I was playing Wolfar, so I just knocked it back to the hideout, and like immediately did a gold turn in. So there's definitely some fun thief shenanigans you can do on the map. You do have to be careful when you do that though, because the thief will take a lot of damage from the Wolfar Groove.
Well, if it dies, you get the gold sooner.
Yeah, and like someone in chat saying Wolfar, LOD, and Sigurd seem good on this map, and yeah, I agree. This is definitely a map where I think we could see a Sigurd pick and do
Yep.
and have her doing well. So yeah, I'm interested to see how it goes. And then finally we have In Memoriam 1.25. So
Ooh.
this was a bit of a we had two maps lined up for the 6th slot, and it was basically a choice between which of these maps feels more ready. I know if Sneaky was here, and if
It's
Sneaky
fine,
has some
he's not
opinions.
here. We can talk about In Memoriam.
There's definitely a lot of people who are saying the map has a problem with timing out, which I guess we're gonna see. This is a 1 hour timer event, so maybe it will be okay, but we will see. And also, it's a more recent version of In Memoriam. When I played it fairly recently, I managed to end the game on turn 10, but I did also kind of do a sneaky wagon slash greenfinger slash dragon play. So, like, I don't know if we're gonna see as much of that, but I mean, it does mean that the option's on the table. Like, the map does have a lot of early commander pressure, so if you're playing like a Wolfar or something, you can push up and do quite well because there are water tiles and flagstone tiles. So golems and dragons are pretty vulnerable to getting yeeted. So yeah, I guess it's gonna come down to the commander picks. It's gonna come down to player play styles. I personally think wagon early on this map's actually pretty good. I don't know if anybody else is ever going to build one, but I just want to put that out there. But yeah, how do
What
you
happened
feel?
to archers, Barrett?
Hey, wagons and archers go well together.
Okay. Feels like the game either is like short, like 10 turns, like the commanders push until one kills the HQ, or it becomes a more like set in place game where like you have to grind it out. And I think that's what people are talking about with the timeouts, but still think it's definitely possible to end the game. You might have to play a little faster. And to be fair, once the game state is like more or less set, it's also way easier to play fast.
That makes sense.
So I think people need to be aware of like stuff on this map, but I think if you prepare for the map and you practice a few games on it, you should like be ready. Definitely not like the map I would recommend for casuals.
Right, yeah. I mean, I guess it being a map that can lead to that kind of potential grindiness is also something that makes it unique as well, which is something that we do try and aim for with the map pools. It isn't just 6 balanced maps, it's like 6 maps that also kind of offer different things. I mean, there was something to be said about when I was making the page earlier and uploading all the map images. 5 of the maps are just squares, which is like, I mean, obviously, that's going to be fairly consistent that we're going to see maps that are like similar dimensions in both directions, but like only Ominous is like more of a rectangle. Like all the other maps are just like square maps, and it was just like there's something to be said about like wanting to try and promote variety of gameplay through different maps. So in Memoriam, we'll definitely play very differently. I guess the one thing there's a couple of thoughts I have about it. One thing I'm worried about is like whether people are actually going to play on it or not, because a lot of people don't like the map, or they're more worried about getting timed out. Like slower players are probably going to avoid it. People like to take more time on their turns, and I guess like people who that haven't played it as much are probably going to ban it because they don't want to play on it. So, and like honestly, like personally, I feel like it's the weaker map in the pool. And generally speaking, there always is going to be a weaker map in a map pool. It's just like the case all the time. But I also still think it's good enough to be justified to be in the event, even though I hold the opinion that I think it's a bit of a weaker choice.
Yeah, I guess it's like the more filler. I mean, it's not really a filler map because it's still like got its gimmick and stuff, but I think it's fine too. It's just that you might not you might not want to expect people to play 2 live games in a row of In Memoriam.
Yeah, that's true. Like especially if it's a grindier game on game one. Like if you just spent an hour and a half playing in Memoriam, you probably don't want to go back to it.
Yep.
Or maybe you do. Maybe you're like, oh, I could cheese this next game or something. But yeah, I guess we're gonna find out. Um, so those are the 6 maps. Uh, I guess we'll include a link to the event page in the podcast description so people can look at this as well. And I guess the next thing is players, and then we'll talk a little bit about the fog event next month. So we have all the players. I'll just go through the names quite quickly. Shu, Searing Blight, SneakyDragon, Saikoya, Zeronix, MVAKM, Cleaner Code, Sedchun, Zested 43, Red Gems, Senpu, Maestro, Stargin 45, Destroyer of Doom, Fiven, and Just Your Eventual Ruler.
Is it in seeding order?
That's actually in seeding order, I believe.
Oh, that might mean I can afford not to kick Sneaky off the French server just yet if we practice.
Yeah, you two will be on opposite ends of the bracket. So
All
you'll
right then.
actually the earliest you can meet is in winners finals unless you both drop down to losers. In which case I don't know. That's always a bit of a which round you fall down to losers matters a lot.
Yeah,
So
but we're not gonna fall to losers, right?
yeah, I mean you could meet in the finals. It could happen.
Yeah.
But I mean like all right. So just as a quick one, aside from yourself, who do you think are like the strong players to look out for here?
Well, Shu, you definitely can't not say Shu since he's won the last 3 Groove of Wars.
Yeah, I think she's a pretty safe bet. So I would say he's going to do well in this event.
um, Kind of curious to see what Cleaner Code's up to because I haven't seen him around. But if he does participate, he always was quite a quite a strong force. There's like some very consistent people that come from ranked, like I mean that are very active in ranked. Like there's the more established ones like Zested. I guess Searing Blight was one of them, but I think he can be like something else since he was top 2 last tournament.
Yeah.
So there's MVAKM, there's Stargin, there's Zested. These are like the ones you'll see a lot in ranked. But there's also new ones like Mastro, Senpu, and guess I guess Destroyer of Doom and just your eventual ruler as well.
I
It's
actually I would add Fiven as like Fiven's my like pick for going further than their seed is dictates. I think they're actually a very strong player. So I'm very curious to see how far they go.
I'm really hoping I don't have to face Sejun this time, because every time it's so tiring.
I'm doing the
Oh.
math. I think you're on Sejun's side of the bracket,
Okay, of
but you won't have
course.
to face them until a couple rounds in,
Yeah, I won't face him round 1
or
again.
round 2. I think round 3 is the earliest you can face him.
Alright, well, that's decent. Zeronix, I'm kind of curious. Like, last time he had a decent run. He wasn't like like, you could see he had less time in it to put in it, I guess. But since we're gonna have more time for this one, I think he's probably gonna make more waves than last time.
Yeah,
At
the
least.
event will last just over 2 months, so there's like a decent amount of time, and it's pure double elim this time, so we're not doing that thing where there's a cutoff point in losers where they can't advance further. So
And
we could see, like, if Zero falls down early on. Ooh, sorry, my PC making a noise there. We could definitely see Zero, like, if he falls in the early rounds, like, he could pull back and go through losers. And that's true of anybody. Like, we could definitely see, because I actually think, like, if we did run pure double elim last time, I think Zero could have actually brought it all the way back.
I mean, yeah, it's although where did he stop in losers? Oh
He
yeah,
got
because like the
fifth,
cutoff
so
point was fifth, right?
yeah.
Yeah, so
So
he did get the highest spot possible in losers.
yeah. So I guess it's gonna come
uh,
down to, yeah. I mean, I'm interested to see. He has a not massively difficult run to go through, I think. Um, no offense to his early round opponent. Um,
oh,
but
I was looking at the list.
he isn't
The
facing
only
like Shu or like round 1 or anything, so
okay. I was looking at the list of names. The only name I haven't said out loud is Red Jams. And it might be a recency bias because of Groove of Nations, but I was playing him during the last round, and I guess I'm taking Groove of Nations more seriously than he is. Because
yeah, I mean, I will say I was the practice partner for that last round with Red Jams, and like I thought he was looking pretty good. He beat me in a game where I had a lead early on, actually. Um, he was able to come back and bring it back. So I think Red Jams is still pretty strong. It'll be interesting to see because I think he was still busy with school until fairly recently.
yeah, and I also think he had stuff like that. He's always busy.
Yeah, so maybe this is going to be a bit more of a downtime period where he can like get some more games in. So I guess we'll see. But yeah, I'm interested to see how this is going to all play out.
I mean, maybe he'll have fixed his RNG habits by then.
Maybe, but
uh,
yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
looking good.
yeah, I mean, I think winners for me, like potential winners of the tournament, Shu is obviously a safe bet. I think Zero could possibly come back and take it. Honestly, I think you are looking in pretty good form. You're just coming off of a Groove of Nations win with your team, so and you're the only France rep, so you're gonna have Team France backing you up as well. But
True.
if I was to throw like a curveball pick in, I think Fiven has a good chance of going deep, if not winning. Maybe Fiven's gonna listen to this and be like, "What are you talking about?" But that would be my.
Oh, I did not touch on Sneaky, but Sneaky pretty good. Despite what he says all the time, he's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, Sneaky also has a good shot at doing well. What, come top 4 twice in a row now?
Yeah, I think he's actually like, I think him and I both are like the last, I guess the 3 Groove of War we played. Uh, we're on an upward like hill, I guess. I mean an upward trend for how we place. Because like I think Groove of 4 I was like 16 or like barely in the end, and he was top 8. Groove of 5, think I went like 7th, and then he was top 4, and then War 6 we were 3rd and 4th. So is this where we finally face off somewhere in the finals? I don't know.
I mean, that would
We
be
did
hype.
face off,
It would be
but
fun if it was like you and him in winners finals.
yeah, would
Uh,
be like whose curve is the strongest?
oh, actually, I will note as well. So we are doing regular double elim except for the grand finals. So there's no bracket reset in grand finals. It's just going to be a best of 5. Um, just for people interested, because and a lot of strategy games actually do that. They do double elim, but they just don't bracket reset because I think bracket resets work really well for stuff like fighting games where you can play 2 best of 5s in a row and it takes under an hour, as opposed to like a strategy game where a single game can take over an hour. So
It's
yeah,
like, hey, have you 12 hours ready for the potential bracket reset of this best of 5?
yeah, it's pretty wild. And I mean, there's also the thing of we can just say it's a best of 5 because before it was like, well, if we're gonna do a potential bracket reset, it should really be best of 3s. And then you have like, oh well, it's just over in 2 quick games. Kind of that becomes an issue. So best like just a regular best of 5, it's like a lot more consistent, and it means there's like a higher minimum amount of games. So minimum 3, maximum 5, as opposed to the other way around, where it's minimum of 2, maximum of 6. Unless people really want to do like 2 best of 5s in a row, and then nah, that would just be awful. So
Please no.
yeah, I think even the people who enjoy playing the game a lot would like kind of look at that and not really want to do that. So okay, I guess the main thing, everybody who's listening, please go and accept the invite to the event as well. So that just went out today. I guess if you're listening to the podcast, and you haven't accepted your invite and you're on that list, then please go ahead and do that. I'll probably ping people on Discord like Monday or something. There's no huge rush. But yeah, I'm interested to see how the event's gonna go. I'm looking forward to it. We're now at the point where all of the hard parts of the event are mostly over. It's mostly just like adminning and scheduling stuff. I'm making sure people actually get their matches done on time. I think people are getting a little bit of extra time on the first week, which is generally how we run it. And then, but everybody knows who their opponents are, so maybe we don't even need to do that. So yeah. Yeah, because like all of the seeds are in place now, so
Oh yeah, we actually can have a full bracket from the beginning this time.
yeah. And even if cleaner code, actually that's the thing. I think cleaner codes. I'm just gonna force them to take part, because even though they haven't really been active recently, I'm just gonna be like, please enter this event, because it was really messy when we had someone drop out last time, and it made the lower bracket a bit more confusing. Because when you have a complete 16-player bracket, once the first round's done, you can start losers straight away. But if you have a 15-person bracket, then one of the losers bracket matches can't actually start until round 2 is complete. So it slows the whole event down, funnily, by removing someone.
Oh.
So yeah, we're gonna go with the 16 people. So nobody's allowed to drop out.
Or if you drop out, make sure someone else is.
We're just
Don't
gonna lock in
actually.
at this point. Yeah. I mean, people can drop out in the middle of the event. That's okay, because like I understand that it's quite a long event, and people, if you're in like losers round 3 or something and you're like, actually I'm not really feeling this anymore, then that's understandable. But anyway, that's us for the podcast. Oh, there is going to be, well, actually one last thing. There's a fog event in November. What we're considering doing is running a fog of war event alternating with Test Your Metal. So that gives map makers a bit more time to work on Test Your Metal maps. Like, we can alternate stuff. And it also means fog of war players have something to do. And because they're going to alternate, that means technically you could actually take 2 months to complete your matches for each event. Like if you really needed the extra time, so we can be a bit more nice about deadlines. And yeah, like a lot of people really want to play Fog of War, so we're gonna give it a shot again. I actually do enjoy playing Fog of War. I understand from an organizer perspective why we'll never run a serious Fog of War event, but I'm looking forward to playing some Fog of War again. So if you have Fog of War maps that you're interested in making, I might go make one tonight, actually. Or maybe I'll do some Fog of War map editing tomorrow. But yeah, there's going to be an event in November, so if you aren't in Groove of War and you're looking for something to do, yeah, Fog of War event coming up, and then we'll do Test Your Metal in December. So excellent. And of course, we have the ranked season going on as well, so lots of map testing stuff to happen. We still give out prizes every month for that, so yeah, something to take part in. You can win some video games, potentially, and just have a good time.
Yep, ranked, still playing Merciful on that.
Yeah, I'm playing some ranked games again. I'll be playing a couple more this month. Yeah, my schedule's way more open there, so I can actually do that. I've been looking and checking, and if people are queued up for ranked, I'll generally hop in if they've been queued for like 20 minutes or something.
Actually, my schedule is like less, like I have less time, but because it's more structured, I can play more.
Nice. That's the best feeling. Okay, that's us. We're gonna try and do a podcast next month. Probably talking about the Fog of War event when that's going on. We'll be talking more about the January-March event. And we'll be talking more about Group of War 7, and that'll be us after the first couple rounds, I think. So we'll be able to talk about the results and who's doing well, how the maps are playing out. So that's us for this month. We'll be back regularly with this podcast from now on. All of the personal drama in my life that was keeping me busy is like mostly dealt with now. So, oh, right. I hope everybody has a good month, and we will see you all soon.
Bye.